Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be using some brand new inks from Waffle Flower. I have all 12 on screen right now, but I'm going to pick out 6 of my favorite colors to create a rainbow background. If you would like to know what colors I use specifically, you can pause the video right here. Or I will have all of the ink pads listed down in the video description below and also at my blog in case you want to pick up some new inks. Today I'm using a stamp set from Simon Says Stamp to create a striped background using those rainbow inks. Now I did want to mention that I tested out some of these stripe stamps with the inks and they were such large solid stripes, and also it was a brand new stamp set, and those two kind of situations together created a bad situation for stamping. That's because this happens with almost any ink. When you use a brand new stamp with ink and it happens to be a really large solid stamp, you're probably not going to get a really even coverage when you stamp it the first time. This is just because the surface of that brand new stamp is a little bit slick, so the ink can kind of bead up on the top and you're not going to get a very good impression. But I knew I could solve this problem by using a MISTI stamping tool. The MISTI allows me to stamp each stripe over and over again without anything moving around and having to reposition things. So I was able to stamp each of these stripes multiple times to get a nice even coverage. I also wanted to mention that this ink formula, I suspect, I don't know, I haven't talked to them personally at Waffle Flower about it, but I suspect it's a similar formula or the same formula as some of the dye inks that are already out there on the market. They just have some brand new specific colors to Waffle Flower. So this formula is very similar to Simon Says Stamp, Hero Art Shadow Inks, W+9. There's quite a few companies out there that use this fantastic formula for ink. So over time, this is a few hours later, those inks really lightened up and evened out over the front of my cardstock. Because I did put tons of ink on the front of this cardstock, it did curl up a little bit like any paper would with lots of moisture. So I did want to mention that's why it's curling up a little bit. I'm going to be using some circle die to cut out a circle out of the front of my striped piece. My idea in my mind is that I will have the stripes on the front of the card with a circle window, and then I'm going to stamp 39 on the inside of the card. This is going to be a birthday card for my older sister who was turning 39 this year, so shh, don't tell her that I told you guys, but that's how old she's going to be. So after I picked out the correct size of circle for my circle window, I taped that down onto my striped front. Because it was bowing up a bit, it wasn't able to lay flat down to my magnetic platform, so I did need to tape it down. After I ran that through my Big Shot machine, I had the perfect circle for the front of my card. I'm going to do a little bit of stamping on the front of the card. I'm using the Leafy stamp set from Waffle Flower. I'm going to be doing kind of a mixture of different imagery for this card. There's a little bit of some organic botanical look and then also some more graphic look, like with those numbers. I really like the juxtaposition of those two styles of imagery. It's going to look really, really cool, and I love it with the rainbow because it's more playful and fun. I'm stamping some of these images from the stamp set, and I'm using Versamark ink for this. In the past, I've only used Versamark for heat embossing, but Versamark ink is also a really great ink for watermarking or just putting a very subtle pattern over your cardstock. So this is a really fun way to get double duty out of your ink pads. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp a bunch of images over these stripes, but I'm not going to emboss them. I'm just going to keep them as is, as watermarks on the cardstock. I used my paper trimmer to trim down this piece just a little bit. I wanted to make it 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 tall, so that when I put it on the front of my card, I would have a little bit of a white border around the outside edge. Now, if you wanted to prevent having to kind of go side to side and making sure that circle window is still in the center, you could go ahead and cut your cardstock before you even start stamping those stripes. You could cut it to 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 tall. I wasn't sure if I would be cutting it down later, so that's why I'm doing it at this step. So now I'm going to go ahead and create my card base. This is some Neenah let's see, Nina Solar White cardstock, and this is the 110-pound version. I like to use the thicker version for card bases. And I've scored that at 5.5 to create a top folding card. I then put some Tombow Extreme adhesive on the back of my striped die cut piece, and then place that down directly onto the front of the card. Now I still need to cut that circle window out of the white card base as well. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that flat into my Sizzix Big Shot machine. I'll take that same circle die that I used earlier, and I'm going to kind of wiggle that around until I can feel that it's in the exact place. It's kind of puzzle piecing in to that die cut window that I did on the front of the card with the stripes. And I'll run that through my Big Shot machine again. Now I run it through a few different times, kind of back and forth a little bit, because that die does have to cut through 2 layers of cardstock. The thickness of what's there is 2 layers. It's already cut through 1 layer, but it does have to get down to the bottom. So that cut through really cleanly. I then took a pencil and really lightly traced the circle window on the front of the card to the inside of the card. It's a little bit hard to see on camera, but I am able to see in real life that there is a penciled circle. I then took that example piece for the 39 that I used for the circle sizing, and I traced the circle window onto that so I could see the placement of where the numbers would be within the circle. This aids me in stamping those numbers in the exact spot where I want them. So I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a really sharp, crisp black ink. It's also a pigment ink, so you will need to let it dry a little bit, but I love the results. So I stamped the 39 in that circle, and now when I close up the card, that 39 is perfectly placed within the circle window. I'm going to go ahead and add a few more things to this card. I wanted to add happy 39th birthday on this card, so I've stamped the TH, the word happy, and the word birthday onto some black cardstock. I prepped the cardstock before stamping with an EK Success powder tool. That just helps me get a really clean embossed image. And then I coated that in some Hero Arts white embossing powder and heat set that with the heat tool. I then trimmed out each of these words and then placed a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of each one and then placed that onto the card. For these 2 words at the bottom, birthday and the TH, they were hanging into the circle window, so I only put foam adhesive on the areas that would be on top of the striped piece. So there's a little bit of foam just on the one side of each. The word happy is sized perfectly to go on the inside of the card, and it won't touch any of that circle window, so I can go ahead and put that on foam adhesive the entire back, and it clears that circle window. There's no problem with it opening and closing. So after I had all of that down, I decided to add a little more black on the card because those black words are really stark. So there are some little stars in that stamp set, the birthday stamp set with the numbers. And I used the stars from that to add stars on the front of the card with some more VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then I realized, well, I didn't realize, I know this before, but my card base wasn't the perfect size for my striped panel. There was a little bit less space at the bottom, and I thought, how am I going to fix that? I can't really cut off the fold at the top to make it even. So I decided I'm just going to put a black strip of cardstock on the very bottom of the card because the sides and the top are pretty even for the white border around the outside edge. So I'll put the black at the bottom, add a little bit of a white gel pen as a faux stitching line, and that'll even up the card. Plus it gives it a little bit more interest. I made sure to erase that pencil on the inside, and then I took a clear sparkle pen and I added some sparkle to the 39. You're not going to see it on camera or even in photos, but there is a little bit of shimmer and sparkle. So that's the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next card video, and thank you so much for watching.